First of all, whoever said, I remember reading this years ago, the more I know, the least I think I know. That's how I feel. Because even though I have tons of knowledge about everything and anything per se, I still need to know a lot more because there is a lot more out there for me to know in order to make a bigger impact.
Yes.
That's my main goal. At this point in my journey, I'm not only doing it for me, I'm doing it for all of the people that needs to hear the message, that needs to hear the hope, the faith, that needs to elevate their identity and their worth. I'm doing it for them.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to RealTalks podcast. I have an amazing guest today, and we have a lot of guests on RealTalks, and the reason being is because I want to inspire others and share their stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and just keeping it real with you guys, and just share their journey as well, so that you're not always just hearing from me alone, right? So my guest today, I met her at 10X Stages not too long ago. We actually had this in Miami. Let her introduce herself more deeply about what she does, but she is an international speaker. I got her info here. I was writing stuff down, and she is a multicultural Latina. She's an author, and she is a transformational strategist. Xuzie is the founder and CEO of RTA Academy, and I pretty much let her introduce herself, talk more in depth about the book, her background, and a strategist. So, Xuzie, welcome to RealTalks podcast. Thank you for joining me here on this nice, lovely day. How are you today?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here, Jay. It's such a pleasure to be, impacting your audience and contributing to the world and whatnot. So let me tell you a little bit about the books that I've been in. One of them is Resilient Queens. And this one is about stories of women who have gone through a lot of hardships, including cancer, including divorce, including losing their son, their daughter, or whatnot. And I was part of that, or I've been part of that community for a while. So there is one of the ways that I actually became a published author. And the other one is, I think it's called Immigrants Who Succeed in the United States, something like that. I know I'm screwing up the title. I'll give it to you later.
No worries.
It's about women from other countries, and actually within the book, there are women from Egypt, from England, from, oh my gosh, all kinds of parts of the world.
So amazing.
Mexico is represented by myself and one more person.
Nice.
And all of us sharing the stories of, how is it for us women, business women and entrepreneurs and go-getters to go to the United States and actually not knowing the language, not knowing the system and how everything works to succeed in business. So and actually my mojo, my main thing is to impact women. I'm a transformational strategist, like you said. And what I do is actually guide women on mastering their identity. So this is women who actually feel lost, who maybe they're already successful in business and they have all the money they want and whatever. However, they feel like something is missing. They feel disconnected from themselves. They'll feel like they're not enough. They feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not being enough of a mom. I'm not being good enough as a wife. Or even if there are single moms, there are a lot of single moms out there like myself. I'm a single mom. So
and it's tough.
It is very tough.
But sorry, go ahead.
Guide them on coming on common ground into who they truly are so they can show up externally, that's internal, right? Externally to the world and say, this is who I am. This is what makes me happy. This is how I'm going to show up for everyone else and make the impact that they want and actually have the desire, joy that they long,
Wow. Yeah. I love that. And I could actually relate to, to what you, not necessarily to what you do, but as a I'd say that on the other side of things, right? As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as far as finding like true happiness and joy and all of that stuff, like even though I see success in my business, there's times in where I question myself and like I feel kind of lost still, even though I'm successful as an entrepreneur, but I feel like there's something missing. And sometimes I do question that, like, what is it? So I'm still trying to find that out, but kind of leads towards my next question with you, Xuzie. Like, how, for you as a transformational strategist, like, how did that come about? Like, walk us through that evolution. Basically, what I'm asking is like, what were you doing before then? And what allowed you to shift towards this new venture or this position that you're in now?
Absolutely. I'm so pleased to share that about me. Well, in my other life, I was actually an elementary teacher for over
Wow.
20 years. Yes, and that was in the period where my own sons, I have two sons, were little.
Uh-huh.
So that gave me the flexibility to be a mom, to be a present mom, right? Even though I had
Yeah.
all these opportunities, I was like, no, this is my focus right now.
Yeah. That's
However,
cool.
during that journey, I endured before getting divorced so many illnesses that took me into dying. What I mean by that,
Mm.
my intestine was perforated in the winter of 2006. I spent over month over at the hospital, and throughout that month many things happened that I didn't come to understand until later. One of them
Mm.
is that I died and came back, and that
Mm-hmm.
definitely transformed my life forever.
Gotcha.
That helped me, so being there helped me to stop. That's one of the
I
things
see.
that I tell my clients, to stop. And what I mean by that is that not only just stop and meditate and whatever, no, it's like literally I had no choice but to be me, no choice but to not identify myself with being a mom, with being a woman, with being even a patient at the
Mm.
hospital, with being a
Yeah. Yeah.
daughter, wife, nothing. I had to become to be nothing but everything at the same time, a
Wow.
wholeness.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
when I
That's
reconnected definitely to my true calling and being. So that's how everything started. Then I started to investigate, oh my gosh, what happened to me put me in this space, and now I
mhm.
know things that I didn't know before. How come? So that's how my
Yeah.
journey started it, and evolved
Wow.
over time into, this is my life mission, this is who I am, this is what I'm here to do. And
Super, super powerful. And I definitely commend you for doing what you do. I
thank
feel
you.
like, I mean, women have a lot of responsibility as a single mother, and as somebody who's like a high achieving woman is somebody that is truly quite important. But a lot of the times, a lot of high achieving people and women specifically that you help out, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people don't know about because we only see a small portion of everything. And even, even for me, my team, the people that follow me, and everything else, they only see a small portion. And there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we don't necessarily always share, right? All the ugliness,
Totally.
the negativity, whether that's on your own self negative thoughts or from outside source or just in general. And we do experience that, so it's important to be resilient in a way. And for me, I guess I had a transformational strategist when I was in the military, active duty, and I suppose I became one of those. I just kind of related to somebody who's a mentor. I had a mentor ahead of me that's been through life experiences and have developed a stronger mindset and all of that stuff, and having the resiliency. And so I have people that I look up to, that I listen to for advice and tips, to kind of help me guide me through my my life and career path and
What a
goals.
blessing
And
that is, you
right.
know?
Absolutely. And that's why, I think that's why I say it's important, like what you do and what you do to help others is quite important. So definitely kudos to you. And kudos to you being an educator for 20 plus years, teaching elementary students. I've always had much respect to educators, especially like elementary, because I know like there's a lot of work.
It
But it's
is a
also
lot of
very
work.
it's very rewarding, and I know you know this because you did it over 20 years, and now you're a transformational strategist, and now your students are adult women in particular, and that's super cool that you're still your passion is helping others. I could definitely tell that based on your expertise and the line of career work that you've done in the past. But I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit more on your methodology. I know there's a 3A methodology that you talk about. Could you kind of explain a little bit more in depth about that?
Absolutely. In fact, my program is called Resilient Transformation for Executives, and it is geared to leaders, right?
Nice.
And
Yes.
we are all leaders of our own lives.
Right.
Anyways, blessing, I'm so glad that you were so blessed to find a mentor because on my
Mm-hmm.
end, due to the people I was surrendered by, none of them
Right.
could be my mentors. So I did it
Correct.
by myself technically until I found someone.
Yeah.
So, and through that process, I discovered a methodology that I came up with, which is the 3A, which is adjust or acknowledge, right? Adjust and aligned.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Could you tell me more about that? Like how? Yeah.
Yes, acknowledge goes really in depth into what are your blocks that are causing you to feel fear and self-doubt, and also
Yeah.
causing you to feel like I'm not worthy, especially women. I'm not worthy charging this amount of money for my knowledge. I'm not worthy receiving love. I'm not worthy pursuing whatever goal or whatever that is it that you're longing, right?
Hmm.
We go in depth into that. Even though, let me tell you a secret that I just discovered. Even though you don't get to actually know exactly the event or the thing that provoked or created that false belief, you
Yeah.
are still can liberate yourself from it. There is a methodology that you still can liberate yourself from it. Because once you become aware of that, I call it T pattern, thoughts,
Hmm.
emotions, and actions,
Nice. Yep.
then you interrupt it, you dissolve it, and you become a totally new person. Okay.
I
So then,
see.
in the
Yeah.
second phase of it, as far as adjusting to it, now we are actually going into what are your real core values. Detach from everything else because a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, when it's we, is the whole family, especially the
Yeah.
husband or the wife or the boyfriend and girlfriend. We love to go to the mountain. Is like, no, 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 no. You,
Yeah.
what is it that you like? And they're like,
Personally, like, yeah.
oh my gosh, I don't know. I've always done this together. I'm like, okay, now it's time to reconnect to you, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we go into that and developed and create the identity that the woman or person, because I've worked a lot with kids, as you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
to adapt. And, how does she look like? How does she behave like? How does she think like? How does she react like? And then once we have that solidified, then the last phase of it is like, okay, now we're going to create a plan of action. These needs to be reflected in daily, everyday um, or T's thoughts, emotions, and behavior that you are
Nice.
having.
Yeah.
So now is it that you are really embodying it? To me, it's not only about mindset. It's mainly about the whole body, and your mind is part of your body, right?
Right. Right.
If you embody it and you feel it to the core of your cells, then you really become.
That's amazing. Amazing. That's basically like your, I guess, adapt, adjust, and align. And I love that three steps like methodology too. Like with that that you're talking about, I believe in something not necessarily very much the same. I have a three step thing, but when it comes to my mindset, and I'm writing a book about it. It's called
Mhm.
Ask,
Yeah.
Act, and Receive. And basically, I talk about it's in the middle stages of like working on it. I'm in chapter 7 so far, so I'm halfway done. Very
Woohoo.
excited to launch it next year. Next year. Because I still have a lot of work to do, but yeah, Ask, Act, Receive just basically tells it's also detailed in the Bible, but essentially, you attract everything that we want to achieve in life, whether it's have a great career or a great business,
Yes.
being influential as a content creator, or whether I want to buy a house, right? Things like that. Like you attract everything you envision it. People, you already know this. You put it, you basically seek for that, which is the act, piece of it. And having a brain of thought. What do you call it? Brain fog right now because I'm hearing
It's
my
okay.
we have a gardener going through. So I always like to talk Real Talks podcast. But nonetheless, I was saying like ask, act, receive. You ask for these things in your life, and then you act towards accomplishing these things as well. It's not just like
Mhm.
a dream you snap of a finger is going to happen. You have to act towards that, commit to it, put in the work
Right.
behind. As you already know, then you receive, all of these things. So it's kind of like a manifestation mindset thing, but it's more just a mindset thing. You gotta put it into action, put in the work behind it, and then ultimately you achieve it. So I do love that. It makes it easier to understand. Like, all right, this is Susie's test, methodology in what she does in teaching others. So that's pretty cool that you
Thank
have
you.
that. And obviously you're an educator, so you've always been, I guess, and I would say like at least you're very comfortable speaking to in groups, even though they're
Yes.
children, right? What majority of your time, but being a speaker is actually for a lot of people they're scared to talk in front of the camera or worse in person, like live events and everything else like that. But for you, like, how do you still have like a fear of public speaking, or you're just very comfortable already and be able to just be in front of like 100 to 1,000 people and just do your thing.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I not too long ago I had a speaking gig and it was only like 10 people, right? And
Yeah.
I was sharing part of my story that I had not shared before. And I
Hmm.
was making it so much about me being vulnerable and sharing that part and being like technically nude that I got so nervous. I'm like, why am I being nervous right now?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So the way I work that out is like, if I chose to share that part of my story, that's because someone needs to listen to it.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
other than that, Jay, I am technically an entertainer. Since I was a little girl in Mexico, I
Yeah.
always dreamed about being in front of huge audiences. So for me, that's like, yes, this is me.
That's
This
that's
is
so
this
cool.
is my calling. So
Yeah.
yes, I get nervous, like just like everybody else, especially when I go into my mind and my ego. But once